it's Jenny, and today I'm excited to share a sneak peek for the newest mini release coming to the Miss Ink Stamp Shop. This release will hit the shop tomorrow, and it is made up of a bunch of awesome layering dies, including the one I'll be working with today called Wildflowers. And before we get started, we'll go ahead and take a look at all the different layers. This stencil includes 7 different pieces, and they're all numbered in the upper right hand corner. I love how this stencil is so detailed and broken up into 7 different pieces. It allows for tons of color options. So for my card today, I decided to go with a piece of craft cardstock, and I'm going to trim that down to 8.5 by 5.5. And at first I was just going to leave it that size because the stencil does cover more space than an A2 panel, but I changed my mind and went ahead and trimmed that down to 4.25 by 5.5. Also included in this release is a super helpful positioning tool, which comes with instructions right on it that I did not read. So I'm lining up the paper here, but really you need to line up the stencil with the positioner. And here's where I finally realized that I have that lined up incorrectly. So I just bring in the last layer of the stencil so I can see where I want the finished image on my cardstock, and then I just scooch over the positioning tool. And once I have everything placed where I want it, I can start inking. So I'm going to bring in the first layer along with some milled lavender distress oxide and start coloring it in. And then I brought in some Kitsch Flamingo to add some dimension to the centers. And then I just went back and forth between the colors to get a nice blend and darken everything up. The next layer creates the centers of my flowers as well as 2 additional flowers. So I'm just going to use some walnut stain and spice marmalade to add those centers. For the additional flowers, I'm going to bring in some picked raspberry and seedless preserves. For layer 3, it comes with some additional details for the flower centers as well as the other layers of the prior flowers, but I decided to just leave my centers as they were and color in these additional petals. For the next flowers, I'm going to use some Mermaid Lagoon and Wilted Violet. For the next 2 layers, I'm going to come in with some Rustic Wilderness and Bundled Sage for the stems and leaves. Once I had everything inked in, I decided I wanted to darken up those first flowers, so I'm just going to bring in some Dusty Concord with the Kitsch Flamingo and just darken those up. I also brought in some Villainous Potion to add some darker tips to each of the flowers. After I finished with all of the inking, I decided to go ahead and add some black splatter. So I just added some acrylic paint and a spritz of water onto a stamping block, and then went ahead and tapped that onto the card front. And then I did the same thing to go ahead and create some white splatter as well. And you can see here, I'm just doing some test splatter on the right side of the box before I add that to my card front. And once my panel is dry, I decided to bring in this stitched rectangle die from the Oh Happy Days frame set, and I'm just going to go ahead and add that stitching detail. And another awesome thing about these stencils is that you can go ahead and just add pretty much whatever sentiment you want using dies or stamps. So I decided to bring in the Everyday Sentiment stamp set, and I'm going to go ahead and heat emboss onto some black cardstock with some white detail embossing powder, and I'm going to use the Thinking of You sentiment. And you can see here I stamp out the sentiment a few different times just so I can pick the best one, and if they all turn out good, then I have extras for another card. So next I'm just going to go ahead and add that embossing powder and then melt those all down with my heat tool. Next, I'm going to use my scissors to go ahead and trim out my sentiment. I went ahead and added the sentiment using a piece of foam tape, and now I'm bringing in some additional embellishments. I played around with the placement of these flatback rhinestones for so long, but I eventually found the placement that I liked. Next up, I'm going to create my card base. Then I'm going to add some double-sided tape to the back of my panel and then go ahead and attach that to the base. And I don't know what it is, but I always have the tiniest bit of card base that sticks out from behind the card panel. So I'm just going to use my paper trimmer and go ahead and trim that off. I'm just going to bring in a white gel pen to go ahead and touch up some of the white splatter spots that kind of dissolved into the Distress Oxide, just for some additional pop. And here is a closer look at my finished card. If you enjoy working with layering stencils, then you definitely don't want to miss the new release coming to the shop tomorrow, as well as a chance to win a giveaway over on the Missing Stamps Instagram. All links will be included in the description box below, and thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!